Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Reds, 1981. Giving this 1 out of 5 stars. I thought this was way overrated. It gets a whopping 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. It was nominated for 12 Academy Awards. And it won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Warren Beatty. However, it didn't win Best Picture. It lost to the underdog Chariots of Fire, which my conservative friends at Hillsdale College forced me to watch. That was their idea of a good time, while some dude was blasting Nirvana down the hallway. Anyways, yeah, that was back in the dorms, Hillsdale College, when that girl who was having an affair with the president of the college shot herself in the head in the auditorium right around that time. Anyways, you know how much I hate communism. If you've seen any of my movies, you know that I hate La Chenoise, the hundreds of millions of deaths caused by the Bolsheviks, among others. The Maos, the Pol Pots, the Che Guevara, those types of individuals. They all exterminated their political opponents. They called them counter-revolutionaries in this movie. But I suppose the only somewhat temperament of this communist crap that Warren Beatty adheres to, the so-called radical left of Hollywood, as conservatives portray them. But the ironic thing is that Republicans and Democrats nowadays, with this coronavirus shamdemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it, they are imposing extreme government force on people right here in San Francisco, as well as on the national level with the Dr. Fraudgy windbag and the scarf lady. Okay, these people are even more extreme than the Bolsheviks in this movie, because they're shutting down all the churches, which even the Bolsheviks and the Jacobins never did. And yeah, that's the situation we're faced with now. Instead of the 10 Commandments, is thou shalt not get a haircut, thou shalt not dine in a restaurant, thou shalt not attend church. It's even more radical than the Bolsheviks of the 1917 as portrayed in this movie. Okay, so Warren Beatty plays this guy Jack Reed, and he's an American communist. He starts out as a journalist, but he becomes more like a labor union organizer for the IWW, which is apparently more radical than the AFLs. Okay, so he's doing this. He's organizing a Communist Party in the USA, and He's revolting in the Socialist Party prior to that. He's just a communist crud to the core. He thinks that communism is going to help the workers. But even one of the characters in the movie says this: communism is more like a religion for him, like a pseudo-religion, in my view. And of course, the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto have been U.S. law for ever since the Progressive era, or ever since the period when this movie takes place. So don't underestimate the influence of the communists in the United States. I mean, there were Red Scare periods in the 20s and the 50s, but it didn't do anything to reverse the tide of communism here in the United States. As the John Birch Society said, we've met the enemy, and the enemy is us. That kind of thing. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers tried to portray that in film, but I don't think people got it. They just thought it was a great science fiction movie. That was the end of it. Like they couldn't understand what was going on behind the scenes. Like I don't know. It's just really unfortunate. This whole period in U.S. history, and you see the culmination of it with the draconian, authoritarian mini Mussolinis here in California, in Washington. I think there are only about 4 politicians who are somewhat moderate in comparison. You got Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. You got Justin Amish, who's running for president, by the way, on the Libertarian ticket, and he's not putting forth any libertarian ideas whatsoever. So he's kind of a lukewarm candidate for the November election. He'll probably take votes away from Joe Biden. People who can't stand voting for Trump will probably vote for him. And then I said Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, and Justin Amish while he was in Congress, not as a presidential candidate. Even Rand Paul is kind of doesn't do much. I mean, he filibustered the Obamacare when the Senate wasn't in session, along with his buddy Ted Cruz. That didn't accomplish anything. So, it's a sorry lot of politicians we have here in the United States. None of them will stand up for freedom, really, except for maybe occasionally those 4 that I mentioned. And it's a sad, dire situation here, thanks to people like Warren Beatty, who promote these pro-communist movies. Like I said, it is tempered. It's like the Gone with the Wind of communism, really. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it is tempered with Emma Goldman admitting that 4 million people were killed just in 2 years of the Bolsheviks being in power. Not to mention all the people who are starving. The whole situation in Ukraine with the deliberate starvation of the Ukrainian people. But if you're interested in the history of communism, you probably like this. Or if you're a communist, You'll like it. They try to weave in a love triangle between Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, and Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson plays another communist turd playboy, right guy. I was friends with Jack Reed, and Diane Keaton is quickly tells Warren Beatty to take off his pants. She's like a writer or something. Right in front of a church, she tells him to take off his pants, and all the sex is off camera. There's one moment where Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson are butt naked, but they're far, far away, kind of wading in the ocean with their backs turned, so you can't really see much. It's really dark, and anyways, so Jack Reed is this journalist. Diane Keaton is another journalist. Warren Beatty agrees to be interviewed by her. She starts putting the moves on him, but she's kind of teasing him. She just wants him to read her writing, which doesn't really involve communism. It's more like a local newspaper kind of thing. And so he reads it. They go to a dinner party, and that's when she tells him to pull down his pants. And they become lovers. She's married to some dentist. They don't explain in this movie how she came to be married to a Warren Beatty lady later on. She must have gotten a divorce. There's another inexplicable scene towards the end, which I'll get to, but anyways. So Jack Reed is agitating during labor union organizations and demonstrations and whatever. He's going to jail, and all of the IWW guys go to jail later on, but he decides on a fluke to take Diane Keaton with him on the trip to Moscow so that he can record the Bolsheviks coming to power, taking over the Tsar, which wasn't any improvement. It was actually a deterioration of society. But he makes much ado about how Wilson betrayed the left by promising not to enter World War I, and then going into World War I, going against his campaign promise 6 months later. The Bolsheviks did the exact opposite. They pulled out of World War I 6 months after coming into power. So they tried to portray communists as anti-war, which is nonsense. I mean, the communists were at war with anybody who was opposed to their ideology, pretty much, including their own people. And so that left a bad taste in my mouth, this kind of anti-war, pro-worker nonsense. It's all propaganda. And as Emma Goldman mentioned, there's an ugly side that should have been portrayed more in this movie, in my opinion, a lot more. Okay, so enough about that. But anyways, he writes book called the 10 Days That Shook the World, which I think was made into a movie by that communist director who appeared in the Greenaway film that I reviewed when he went to Mexico. I forget his name, Eisenstein or something like that. I don't know. But he makes a lot of money off the book, and he splinters off from the Socialist Party into the Communist Labor Party or something like that. And then there's another Communist Party splinter that's made up of immigrants. So then he goes to Russia right when they're in the middle of lockdown, not allowing anybody inside the country because of all of this so-called counter-revolutionary activity. The Finland government is so-called right-wing. Again, Warren Beatty loves to throw around this left versus right false dichotomy, but at least he's willing to admit that the left consists of a communist agenda, which most people with his ideology won't even admit. He readily admits that it is in the bonus feeders. So at least he's being honest. He's being like, Bernie Sanders, somebody like that, an avowed socialist kind of guy. But nevertheless, this movie stinks. Why would anybody want to watch a couple of communists? And the Diane Keaton is ugly. I don't know why people say that she's such a beautiful woman on the bonus features. I think she's ugly. She gets naked a couple times from the behind. They're showing a naked, artwork when she was married to the dentist. That scene wasn't explained either. She was she posed nude with her rear end facing the audience, and for a painting, and it was showing in some art gallery. And then she was just standing around there for no apparent reason. And people viewing the painting pointed out that it was her. She's kind of a libertine. I mean, she has no qualms about having sex with two different men, Jack Nicholson and Warren Beatty. And they even have like an agreement to have an open marriage. And Jack Reed can leave for Russia whenever he feels like it. So after the Bolshevik Revolution, he goes back there to get the endorsement of the Bolsheviks for his Communist Labor Party splinter, and the Bolsheviks turn him down. They say you have to merge with the other Communist Party full of immigrants, and so he gets all irritated. They try to use him as like an organ of the state for Russia. He tries to escape, and he's got kidney problems. And then apparently Diane Keaton can't handle the separation. She does a complete 360 flip, and she goes on an adventure to find him, and that's pretty much the movie. I just hated this movie. It's almost like an answer to the Red Scare movie This is pro-communist, pro-Russia, pro-Bolshevik, all of that stuff. Even my former boss thought Bolshevism was the better form of communism. And this guy was a big-time Jorge W. Bush supporter. So that gives you an idea of how the statists in this country think. But it's unbelievable. Even the crazy governor here reopened some of the economy to gardeners and florists and things like that. Some so-called low risk, whatever that means, business activity, and or at least in his mind, he thinks it's low risk, but not according to the San Francisco mayor, London Breed. She wants everybody to remain in lockdown, even more restrictive form of lockdown until God knows when. And it's going to be like this until the end of May. And then what are they going to do? Continue it another month, even though there's no coronavirus? Wouldn't surprise me. But it's really bad. The only good thing about it, though, is that I'm getting a lot of cash tips. I made $115 cash tips in 6 days. So I'm making $28 an hour, roughly, with the cash tips factored in. And at my part-time job and my full-time job, I'm making $25 an hour. So, people are giving me $35, $40 tips. It's just getting ridiculous. And then the lady that I mentioned on Coffee Meets Bagel, 32-year-old CRNA, works for the World Health Organization. Ironically, over there in Hawaii, she's crazy about me. She keeps blowing up my WhatsApp, and she even told me about a prior relationship when she got humiliated. Her ex-boyfriend was cheating on her, and he told her about it right in front of the other girlfriend. So I could tell she was hurt by that. It's probably one of the reasons why she likes me so much, because I talk a lot about integrity and family and stuff, hard work, starting my own business, whether it be movies, making some kind of salad dressing, or coming up with some kind of an investing platform to compete with Robinhood. I don't think I'll have enough money to sock into my Robinhood account this week. Probably have to wait a couple weeks. But just had too many bills to pay this weekend, so my checking account is a little bit low. But I do get 2 paychecks Friday, so I pay all the remaining bills for July pretty much, and or not July, May. Why did I say July? Okay, all the bills for May will be paid, and I think, except for my car bill, which I haven't received yet, and then I can sock away about $500, which bring me to my goal from last year, which was to save $20,000 in my money market account. So I should be able to do that this week. I just won't have any extra money to put in my Robinhood account. So a lot of good things happening because of this this whole lockdown situation. It's not all bad, but you just got to learn how to survive in this kind of environment, because I was very fortunate to have 2 jobs that were both deemed essential by the government here. And, 30 million unemployed, those poor suckers are going into forbearance with their mortgage payments. Which is not a good thing. I mean, eventually they're going to have to pay for the late months. And so it's pretty horrific, this whole government lockdown. I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't. I don't know why Trump led his so-called experts, the quacks in his administration, to lock everybody up, including the healthy people, when it's the older 80-somethings with health problems, living in nursing homes and whatnot, that are comprising most of the deaths. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense in Italy or China. And the masks and the social distancing and the hand sanitizer, the gloves, everything doesn't make sense from a medical standpoint. Even some physicians are going on YouTube and pointing out that it's going to result in more deaths, not less. Because, like I said in my previous video, the government's all about death. And you can see YouTube took down the great documentary, the Plandemic. They put it back up today, I think. I watched the whole 25 minutes of it. It was pretty decent, and highly recommended. This movie I can't recommend. I say avoid it at all costs. It's an unfortunate period in history, the progressive era, the Bolshevik Revolution, and the subsequent communist laws that were passed here. States with the Federal Reserve, income tax, and the Farm Bureau, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty bad here as a result of people like Jack Reed, the statists from the progressive era they weren't even satisfied with Woodrow Wilson, who was a progressive himself, because he wasn't anti-war enough. I find that hard to believe. It's all a canard. It's all part of the communist propaganda. They tried to distract you with thinking that they're actually helping people, saving lives, but they're actually murdering many more than they claim to save by exiting the war. So, really, this movie's a real stinker. Don't check it out. I'm not going to post anything in the description box except for the people's names, okay? No links in the description box. So, I'm watching Cannery Row right now. It was recommended by my coworker. It's another Emmet Walsh. Emmet Walsh has a brief role in Reds, by the way. And this one's 2 hours, 1982, 1 year after Reds. And I don't like it. I thought it was going to be like Gate of Flesh. I was reading about Raquel Welch. She got fired and replaced by what's her name? Deborah Winger, who was 15 years younger. And so Raquel Welch sued and settled for $10 million, which is she made up pretty good. So far, the movie's not good. It's got Mrs. Roper as the madam of the whorehouse. that was kind of weird. I wasn't expecting to see her, but anyways, I'm gonna hit the sack. Sorry it took so long to do this movie review, but like I said, it was over 3 hours, 2 discs from Netflix, and they treated it like one movie. Plus, I keep getting this huge boxes full of Monopoly tickets, and I have to go through each one, see if I won anything. I actually won a $5 gift card, which wasn't much, but every little bit helps, I guess. Not that $5 was worth hours of going through these tickets, but you never know. I won $100, I think, last year, which was pretty decent. $100 gift card. So maybe my luck will change this weekend. Get through all these tickets, get through all these lame street movies with Emmet Walsh, and hopefully one day I can get around to watching Daddy-O. So that's my goal. Laters.